Hey, thanks for clicking in. This is Amy McRuddy, your premier real estateologist. In today's video, I'm going to talk about the pros and cons of buying or even selling condos in South Florida. So let me start off on a positive note and tell you that there are, I thought of 7 fantastic features of owning and buying a condo in South Florida. Then I also want to share with you, so stick with the video, 10 really important matters that you need to concern yourself with when shopping for a condo in Florida. So let's start out with the 7 fabulous reasons to buy a condo in South Florida. The first one is proximity to the beach. Now, why do I say this? I know you're thinking every condo's not on the beach in Florida, Amy. That's right, it's not. But most of the condos are on the beach. We have this fabulous little peninsula down here in Florida with thousands of miles of beach. And the developers figured out that humans love the ocean, so they built most of the condominium units on the beach. That's where you'll see your high rises. Your mid rises and your low rise condos are more inland on water features like lakes and near shopping or just kind of garden apartment setups. Because if you build yourself like a 30, 40, 60 story condo in the middle of the state, you're just not going to have a view of anything except like the roofs of people's houses or a big, vast, flat land in Florida. Don't forget, we don't have mountains here. We barely have hills. I think the only hills I see in South Florida are called Mount Trashmore. Trash just builds up, and that's where your hills are. So anyway, most of the condos are built on the ocean. So most of the condos have that fabulous feature of being close to the beach. And what's fabulous about being close to the beach? We all love the serenity of the ocean, the view of the ocean, the draw of the ocean, the activities associated with the ocean. So that's why most of the condos are built on the beach, and they're close to the beach. And the vibe, too, of living on the beach. It's wonderful. Go work in the rat race, come home, put on your flip-flops, your shorts, your bathing suit, whatever, and chill till you have to go back to the rat race the next day. That's what I did when I lived on the beach. Anyway, so then the second fabulous part of owning a condo in Florida is that we have warm and sunny weather. I mean, look at that sky behind me. That's pretty much how the sky looks most of the time in Florida. Sure, it rains, but we need the rain. The plants need the rain. Most of the time, we just have warm, sunny days. So that's another fabulous reason for owning a condo in Florida. And the third fabulous reason for owning a condo in Florida are the amenities. So, it would cost a fortune on your single family home to make yourself a business center, a pool area, a party room, and all the amenities that the condos have. It would cost you a fortune to build it on your own, and you wouldn't even use it all the time. So the nice thing about the condos are you get all of these resort amenities, and at least some of them, tennis courts sometimes, things like that, for a fraction of the price that it would cost you to maintain your own. Not only to maintain it, but to build it. So all the people in your condo unit pay for that. So it defrays the cost for you a little bit, and you get to enjoy these amenities. The fourth fabulous thing about owning a condo in Florida is that it can be a good investment. If you're buying a condo for investment purposes only, or as a second home, it makes great sense, because if you're only going to be down here a couple of months out of the year, the perfect months, the winter months, and then you're going to go north or go to Europe or go to South America for the rest of the year, then you don't have to take care of it while you're gone. If you're here 3 months and you're not here 9 months, who's going to mow the lawn, keep up the pool, keep up the exterior, keep up the landscaping when you have a condo? You just walk out and don't worry about it. And in some condos, you're allowed to rent, and that can get you a tenant in and it can defray your holding costs when you're not using the unit. So that's good. The fifth fabulous part of owning a condo in Florida is that most of them have security, whether you have a concierge and a valet up front in the lobby that makes people sign in and you have to call them up, or whether there's a security guard gate with gates and stuff out front to get even on the property. It's a nice amenity, and of course all that costs money too, so all the people that live in the condo with you are helping you pay that salary of the guard or pay for the fobs and other security devices, whatever your condo decides. So it's a nice feature, especially if you're not here every day of the year, or if you're just security minded and living in a city and you want that added layer. Then the sixth fabulous part of owning a condo in Florida is that Florida is a tax-friendly state. We have no income tax and we have no estate tax. So that's a nice feature. They can add up. And then the seventh fabulous part, which kind of is an overlap from the other one, is that you have fewer maintenance concerns. So if you own a condo, you don't have to mow a lawn, trim a tree, trim a hedge, clean a pool, maintain the copier and business center. So it's nice that you have all those amenities, fewer personal maintenance concerns, and the costs are split between owners. So those are the 7 fabulous reasons to own a condo in Florida. Now, next, we're going to talk about the 10 primary concerns that you have to be aware of when buying a condo in Florida. And not just when buying a condo. If you're selling a Florida condo, you want to watch this too, because you need to know what the buyers are entitled to and what they should have by law and just by being a transparent, honorable human. So now, before you buy a condo in Florida, you need to be aware of at least 10 very important things before proceeding to sign that contract and make that decision. And if you're selling a condo in Florida, you should also be aware of these 10 very important considerations when selling a condo in Florida. So the first one is to pay attention to the condo dues and potential assessments. So the condo dues, they can be paid monthly, quarterly, semi-annually, or annually. And you need to know how much that is. Because especially if you're buying a condo and you need to get a mortgage, borrow money to do that, you have to look at your budget and include in that budget those monthly fees. You also need to know what you're getting for those fees. Are you getting just insurance? Are you getting more than just insurance? Are you getting insurance, landscaping, pool maintenance, exterior painting and other maintenance? Are you getting window washing? Forget that ocean spray can make a window look a mess pretty quickly. So you'll want to see if it includes the window washing at least like twice a year. Some condos include cable television packages, whether it's a basic or the full gamut of all the stations, and whether you need that or not. If you love TV and you want all the stations and it's included, well then Yahtzee, you got yourself in a good condo. But if you don't care about TV, do you really want to pay for that? And how much of the condo fees are those charges? You're not going to be able to back them out. You just have to make a decision. If $20 out of my condo fees are for me to have cable television and I don't watch cable television, it's okay. Donate to the arts. If $500 of that is cable, which would seem ridiculous, then you wouldn't want to do. You would want to walk away from that condo probably. And let me see, some of them include Wi-Fi, some of them don't. Some of them include that cable, like I said, some of them don't. You have to do that on your own. What else? The maintenance, primarily insurance and maintenance and management fees. Management companies charge money because some of them do a fabulous job and some of them don't. So you also want to look at the quality of the management company as well. So watch those monthly fees, because if you're getting a mortgage, you're going to have to pay principal, interest, taxes, and maybe insurance, walls in insurance, in addition to those condo fees. So condo fees in Florida these days, so as you can see from the date of this video, it's 2025. They're running, depending upon the location of the condo, the condition of the condo, the financial condition of the condo, anywhere between these days like $600 a month to thousands of dollars a month. The average condo fees these days are $900 if you're lucky, because the condo associations are all catching up to getting their reserve studies done, their structural studies done, and maintaining the reserves required by Florida statute. So those gone are the days of $200, $300, $400, $500 monthly fees. Anyway, insurance alone can hit that number, depending upon how many units and how many people are paying for that policy. So pay attention to the fees, and then not only those usually monthly fees, pay attention to the assessments that either may already be imposed and be paying, or that may be imposed in the future. So in order to kind of figure that out, of course, you have to ask the questions of the seller. If there's an on-site management company or manager in the building, ask them. There are a lot of condos that have an office off the lobby somewhere, and there's someone that works in there, and they're usually very nice, and you can go in and talk to them and say, hey, what's the scoop, what's going on, ask them any questions you want, and they're usually very transparent and honest and knowledgeable. So they're great. They are like the best resource. Let me see what else. Those assessments. So, and the other thing to do, not only to ask if there's an on-site manager, ask the listing agent, ask the seller if you can, or ask the listing agent to ask the seller questions that you have about what you get for your monthly fees, and then what the assessments are. In addition to asking those people questions, you'll just look at the building, look at the condition of the building. Does it look a mess and like it needs work? Well, if it does, then it probably does. And if there's work already getting done, then that's a good sign. If it's work in progress, then your next follow-up question would be, who's paying for that? Is it already paid for by the association, so there's no assessment coming? Has it been partially assessed and more assessments are coming? There's just a plethora of questions to ask when you're buying a condo, especially related to association fees and assessments. So that's the number one concern to be concerned about. The second thing that you need to be concerned about is the financial health of the association. You'll see later in the condo rider, there's statutory requirements now where you have to be provided with the most recent approved budget. You don't want to look at a proposed budget. You want to look at an approved budget. You'll need that if you're getting a loan for sure. And if you're buying cash, get it anyway, get it for sure, and review it. It's a budget. It makes all the difference in the world. So, look at it with a fine-tooth comb. If numbers aren't your thing, then maybe your real estate agent can look it over for you. If numbers are not your real estate agent's thing, then go to a CPA, a bookkeeper, anyone that's a numbers person, because that is the most important document. And it's going to list for you all by columns what the expenses are. And that's where you'll see what's included in your fees too. If you see, Comcast or AT&T or whoever the provider is, if you see a cable provider, a Wi-Fi provider, then that's probably included with your fees, but not necessarily, because that could just be for the common area and for the workers. So you need to ask these questions prompted by the entries in the budget. So look at that condo budget. It's super important, and especially look at the reserves, because there's now in Florida a reserve requirement, so that these condos don't just keep kicking the can down the road, which they've been doing since they started building condos in Florida, especially the older ones. They're starting to get some wear and tear, built in the 50s, 60s, even 70s. That's where you see the most wear and tear. The well-managed and well-maintained condos still look fabulous. The ones where you can see that the owners or the managers kept kicking the can and not doing the maintenance, they're a wreck. There's plenty of them out here. So pay attention to that, the financial condition of the condominium association. So if your condo allows rentals, you'll want to look at how the term of the rentals that you're allowed to do. And so that it jives with your investment strategy. Some condos say you have to rent for at least 365 days a year, so you can only have one tenant a year. And if that tenant breaks the lease 2 months in, you can't rent again until 10 months later. So you want to look at that, and that's always a crapshoot, the tenants. Some of them will only let you rent for 3 months at a time, and then you have to renew the leases. Some of them will let you rent daily, and they might even have management people there at the front desk, a concierge, to handle your guests and handle the cleaning and all the things, kind of a condo hotel situation, or just short-term rentals permitted. Some of them don't allow renting at all. Some of them will allow you to rent right away and all those permutations, but some of them will say you can rent, but after you've owned it for a year, or you can rent, but after you've owned it for 2 years. Those are the two most common hold periods, we call them in Florida. So pay attention to the rental restrictions or allowances, depending upon your lifestyle, whether you want to be in a heavy rental building or non-rental building. The other thing in the rules and regulations, pets. That's a biggie. So if you have a pet, you have a cat or a dog or a bird or a lizard or whatever you have, you want to make sure you can bring your little fur baby or reptile baby with you. A lot of people think they can sneak a cat into a no pet building. Well, forget it. Those cats jump up on the windowsill and look at everybody out the window, and then people will rat you out, and you've got a problem. So if you have a pet, make sure you can have that pet. And the pet restrictions can be by type of animal, size of animal, number of animals, breed restrictions. A common one that you'll see down here is even if you can have a dog of any size, they might restrict breeds. No German Shepherds, no pit bulls, blah, blah, blah. It's arbitrary, but it's private, and the board makes up the rules and regulations, allegedly, with the input of the other owners. So pay attention to the pet restrictions if pets are a thing for you. And it kind of dives in with your investment, because if you're an investor only and you're buying in a building that you can lease but no pets are allowed, that might make a difference for you too, depending upon what type of tenants you want to invest in, rent to. It seems if you're renting a unit in a building with a fabulous view that allows any kind of pets whatsoever, and if you're cool with that pet being in your apartment, then you're going to have more people. You're going to rent it easier than owning a condo unit in a building where you can rent but no pets allowed. But if you don't want pets in your unit, then that's probably perfect. It's just that you're going to have less renters available because people love their pets, and it's a big thing. It's a big consideration for the renters and buyers. What else in the rules and regulations? See what the rules and regulations are with regard to use of the common areas. Sometimes you can use the common areas just by booking it, like say the party room with the kitchen and everything, and you can just book it and maybe just put down a security deposit and get it back. Some condos make you pay a certain amount of money per hour. So if entertaining in the common areas is your jam, then find out what the rules and regulations are about that. Also find out about what the application fees might be when you're buying a condo, because I think every condo has an application process and every buyer has to be approved by the association. So find out what the cost of that is and find out what the requirements of approval are. Some condos have like a credit score requirement. So if the credit score requirement is an 800 credit score and you've got a 700, don't waste your money applying to that condo, because when they say they have a number requirement, they mean it. I think it's kind of sketchy and gray, but so far it hasn't been challenged, and the condo associations are allowed to put a numerical credit score requirement to approve people. And the condo application fees run between $100 and $1,000. It just depends upon the condo association and relativity. Let's see, the fourth thing that you want to consider when buying a condo in Florida are your insurance considerations. So you're going to definitely want to also look at the deck sheet. You want to know what insurance the condo association has and what it covers and what the limits are. So you are absolutely entitled to a copy of the insurance deck sheet, and that will tell you whether there's flood insurance, whether there's windstorm insurance, whether there's hazard insurance. So you want to find out what that coverage is, and then you'll want to know what's covered in your apartment. And I will tell you right now that the master policy insurance does not cover the interior of your unit. It's kind of, I think people call it a walls-in policy that you buy. It's kind of like renter's insurance, but you own the condo, and it's really not as expensive as regular homeowner on a single family home is. So it's a relatively inexpensive insurance policy, and I highly recommend that you get it, because say for instance the person above you's toilet leaks down into your unit and then they're not insured. Well, if they're not insured but you are, there's a chance that your insurance carrier will put your house back together after the toilet overflows into your unit. That's a very common thing that happens. If you're both insured, then there might be some litigation between your carrier and their carrier, but it all works out as long as there's an insurance company in the mix. If that toilet leaks into your unit from upstairs and you're not insured and the guy upstairs isn't insured, you get to fix it on your dime or sue the guy and go through that drama. So walls-in policy's important. It's also true that like with the windstorm portion, that's what we call hurricane insurance down here. We call it windstorm insurance. If the windstorm master policy, most of them only cover up to the framing. So if a windstorm comes, as what happened in 2005 in Pompano Beach, a number of condos got whacked in that storm. If you didn't have a walls-in policy, then you get to put up drywall, paint, replace your furniture, and replace your apartment on your own dime. If you have a walls-in insurance policy, the master will take care of the building and everything out from your walls, and you're covered for the in. So given the relative affordability of a walls-in policy, I would recommend that you get it. But also don't forget, when you're doing your research before you buy the condo, find out what the terms of the master policy are. And with the cost of insurance lately, I've been seeing that some smaller condo complexes, they're actually going bare, which is interesting because mortgage companies aren't going to lend you money if you have no insurance. So if there are owners in that condo complex that have a mortgage and then the condo board and all the owners agree, we don't want to pay that insurance policy, we're going to go bare and take our chances, that could result in a default of the mortgage technically for the people that are already in there and can't get a master policy anymore. And it will certainly, if a condo's going bare, it will certainly limit the number of buyers that you have for your condo unit. So insurance is a super big consideration with condos. Now, the fifth thing to look at when you're thinking about buying a condo, the fifth thing to look at when you're thinking about buying a condo in Florida is the property condition and the maintenance. So again, you're going to look at, is it a low rise, a mid rise, a high rise? Is it on the beach, away from the beach? Is it in any special flood risk area, like on the river where it might be prone to rise? Is the rebar coming through the concrete? Does it look a mess? Like all of this, the property condition you need to pay attention to, and the amenities. It may be a fabulous looking building when you go there, and then go look at those amenities when you go. Don't just look at the apartment. Of course, you can do it. Like if you like the apartment, you can go back for a second look and look at the amenities if you don't have time. If you're really leaning towards buying in that building, because the amenities might be a mess. The apartment might be gorgeous inside because the owner renovated and it looks lovely and it's all taken care of and well maintained. But if you go down to the pool area and you see it's just a mess, well, then you better be ready for an assessment coming at you. So these are the reasons the primary reason you want to look at the condition is resale, assessments, dues, and pretty much costs. And then you also need to look at the age of the condo too, because in Florida now, condos that are more than 30 years old, they have to have milestone inspections, integrity inspections, and pretty expensive and thorough inspections of the building if it's more than 30 years old to make sure it's safe. This happened as a result of the absolute tragedy in Surfside. So, it's about time. So when you're looking at a building, look at the age, because if it's 30 years or more, those inspections have to be done at the 30-year mark and every 10 years thereafter. And you'll want to look at those reports as well so you can determine whether it's in the budget for maintenance and reserves and assessments to bring it up to compliance with the reports if there are any deficiencies in the reports. Number 6 consideration when you're buying a Florida condo is the location and the environmental risks. So what do I mean by that? We're back to the same old thing, right? Is it on the beach? Is it blocks off the beach? Is it on a lake? Is it surrounded by a park where you don't really have those risks? So you have higher risk areas, lower risk areas, depending upon where the condo is located. So pay attention to that. And also pay attention to, especially on the high-rise buildings, whether or not there's a generator. Now, the high-rise buildings usually do have a building generator, so that in the event electricity goes out, either after a storm or for some other unknown reason, it's nice to have that building generator because the hall lights have to work for safety and the elevators have to work. Imagine if you lived on the 35th floor of a building and you didn't have electricity for 2 weeks, which happens sometimes after hurricanes. I don't think you want to be going up and down 35 flights of stairs for a couple of weeks until the electricity comes on. So check for that generator. Even in the 3-story buildings, even in the 10-story buildings, I wouldn't want to go up 6 flights of stairs for 2 weeks with my groceries and all the things. It's nice to have a generator. But if there's not a generator, just be mindful that if a storm's coming, you might want to hit the road and not be in that condo until the elevators are up and running again. The condos are usually pretty quick in getting everything up and running again, but it's nice to have the generators as an emergency situation. Let's see, what else? The 7th consideration when buying a condo in Florida is the resale value. Now, a lot of the things that we already talked about will affect the resale value. Primarily, can you have pets or not? Can you rent right away, or is there a hold period, or can you never rent? Is it on the water? Is it a high floor unit with a fabulous view? Is it a low floor unit? Is it next to the elevator, which might be noisy? Is it far from the elevator, which might be a schlep with your groceries? All of these things you have to look at because they may reduce the number of buyers that you'll have at resale, and also the maintenance of the property too. If you bought in a place that everybody's fighting all the time and nobody wants to spend money in maintaining the property or repainting it or paying for insurance, then it's not going to be a good resale value on that one. The other thing to think about too for resale and for purchasing, another big factor is, can you have the washer and dryer in the unit? To some people, that is a deal breaker. They want their own personal washer and dryer. To other people, they don't care if they have to go down the hall and share the washroom with everybody else. And in some buildings, they all have the washer dryer in the unit, and there's no community washer dryer. So if that's the situation, then you're going to have to pay for a washer and dryer and hook that up. It's mostly the new buildings that have the washer dryer units in the unit or allow for the washer dryer in the unit. It's the older buildings with the old cast iron that runs down the whole building there. Those really, they have a propensity to break if it's cast iron and it's like built in the 50s or 60s. So the condo people say no washer dryer in the unit. Now, if you buy a unit in one of those condos where you're not allowed to have it in your unit, but you do, you're doing it on the down low and completely at your own risk. So definitely get that insurance, that walls in insurance we talked about. And the eighth consideration to be made when you're buying a condo in Florida is what is the storage and parking situation. So storage is a pretty valuable commodity when you live in a condo. Don't forget, you're in a condo that's running anywhere from 600 square feet to 2,500 square feet. Those are your bougie ones, and those are fabulous. But even in a 2,500 square foot apartment, those apartments have closets designed for clothes and minor storage. So it's nice to have your own storage unit outside the unit, whether it's outside the hallway, right outside your door, or whether it's in a designated area of the condo complex. It's nice to have that extra storage for the stuff you rarely go in for, like extra wood planks, flooring, whatever, plumbing supplies, tools, extra paint, holiday decorations, things like that. It's nice to have a storage unit. Bicycles. Some condos have a bicycle room, some don't. So you might want to put your bike in the storage unit. So storage units, to me, it's important. To other people, they don't care. But just be aware that with some condos, it's included. With some condos, it's non-existent. And with other condos, you have to either find one available and lease it on a first come, first served basis. And with some condos, you have to actually buy the storage unit or even a garage space, a closed garage. So pay attention to storage and also pay attention to parking, right? Because is it a valet only building? Do you have covered parking? Do you have uncovered parking? Do you have one space? Do you have more than one space? For instance, if you're buying a fabulous one bedroom condo for you and your partner or your spouse, and you guys have two cars, if it only comes with one spot, better figure out where you're going to park that second car. You also want to look at what the guest parking situation is too, because there's nothing more infuriating than having a party and having it be a part-time job trying to figure out how your guests are going to park. If you have valet, that's easy peasy, but maybe they have to park down the street, or maybe there's only like 4 guest spots per 10, 4 guest spots per 100. So the guest spots, pay attention to that if you're an entertainer. The ninth consideration to consider when you're looking for condos in Florida is whether there are any legal issues or pending litigation. So that could affect your pocketbook, the end. There are times, and you won't find out until you get the estoppel information when your title company gets it way down the road. So there are times when condos are involved in litigation. Maybe they're suing the guy that did the roofing because the guy got a couple $1,000,000 and the roof job is terrible. Maybe there's litigation with some crazy people that live in the building. Whatever it is, if there's litigation, you got to know about it, because someday you're going to have to pay that legal bill. And if you're the buyer and we don't know what the legal fees are or going to be, you better budget for an assessment, because the legal fees will generally result in an assessment to the owners. And whether there are legal issues in the building, that's again just a look around and see, does it look ADA compliant? Does it look clean? Does it look hygienic? Does it look safe? Because if you have any of these issues going on, you could be looking at legal issues in the future. And now the 10th consideration in buying a condo, if you have taken nothing from this video yet, is get yourself a good realtor, professional, that's going to look into all these things for you. Because there are so many pitfalls when you're buying in a condo, because there are so many types of condos and so many types of management levels and conditions. that you really need to look into a lot. There's a lot of moving parts, and you need to look at it. You need to look at the budget, the condition, the rules and regs primarily, all of these things. A good professional will research that for you. You go in with eyes open and you know what you're getting. But not a good professional is just going to throw you into some building and you don't know what you're going to end up with and what kind of problems you're going to have. So don't be part of the condo apocalypse. Condo apocalypse is kind of an interesting term that I heard recently describing the current situation in Florida in 2025 post Surfside tragedy. And it's kind of a term coined to indicate that the condo market is not doing great right now. That's great for buyers because you can get a deal. You're still going to do all that research, and if it looks healthy, buy it. You know, I know a friend of mine just bought a couple of condos in this one development, which has a lot of buildings, I think about 20 buildings in the whole development, and each building needs a new roof. That's where they're at. They need roofs. But this condo management and the board is so professional and efficient. What they've done is they've budgeted for all the roofs. They've got the bids. They're doing one roof at a time, and they're budgeting it out so the assessments are $2,500 on a 2-bedroom, $2,500 a year for the roofs. They're spreading it out instead of billing them everybody now $2,500 times 20 roofs. I mean, that's a lot of money. I can't do the math, but I have to take my phone out to do that, but I'm not doing that. Anyway, rather than just hitting everybody for the big assessment now, they're spreading it out. And because the work's going to be spread out anyway, you can't do 20 roofs in a day. So there are older buildings that are undergoing the work as they need to be, because you need to maintain real estate no matter what type it is, and they're doing it in an orderly fashion. So those buildings they're looking at a lot of expense ahead of them, but they're doing it in an orderly and professional fashion. There's others that are just a mess, can't figure it out, way behind. Some of them end up in litigation. There's all kinds of things that can happen. So you want to look into that. And I think that's about it for the pros and sort of cons, or at least things to look for when buying a condo. So I'm going to take a commercial break now and ask you to subscribe to my channel, like the video, and hit the little bell for the notifications. This helps my algorithms. You know, I'm going to keep on nagging you until you do this for me. And then the next part of this we're going to go into is to just give you a quick look at a condo addendum in Florida.